Hey, welcome to the series of everything you need to know about Python in simplest possible way. In the series of pattern printing, so far we have seen so many patterns previously. In this video, we will see how we can print this particular pattern using for loop, string concatenation, and also using string multiplication. If you don't know about string concatenation and string multiplication, watch out my first video about pattern printing where I have explained clearly about string concatenation and string multiplication. So let us go ahead and see how we can solve this particular pattern printing problem. So for that reason, I will take a variable rows because we have these many number of rows here. So I am taking the rows as 5 because we have 5 rows here. So later what I will be doing is that I will take a variable called inner spaces because if you carefully see here, we are having spaces in between of these stars. For that reason, I am taking a variable called inner spaces and I will mention this inner spaces as, so to mention the inner spaces, we need to understand this pattern. So we are not considering this line and this line. So we know, you will know how we are dealing with these rows. So for this inner spaces, we are keep tracking from this row onwards. So if you could carefully see here, here we have 5 positions. Here we have 5 positions here, and out of these 5 positions, one position is occupied after the pattern, and 2 positions are occupied with these particular stars. So for that reason, what I will be doing is that I am mentioning rows minus 3 because one space is done here and the another space another 2 positions are occupied these single stars. For that reason I am removing these 2 positions. So after removing we will be having 2 spaces assigned to inner spaces. So later what we will be doing is that I will use a for loop to iterate to print this particular pattern where I in range, I am using range function to generate a range of values. So in this range function, what I will be mentioning is that rows to 0 minus 1. On each iteration, I wanted to generate a range of values from 5 till 1 with decrementing with 1 on each iteration. So in this for loop, what I will be mentioning is that I will mention a conditional statement, and the conditional statement is that if I equal to 1 or I equal to rows. By mentioning this, I am telling that if I, which is of this iterating value, which is 1, or if this I is equal to how many number of rows we are having, which is otherwise means that the first row and the last row. If we are encountering first row or last row, at that time what we will be doing is that we will be simply printing this particular star with how many number of times that we are iterating through this value, which may be 1 or which may be how many rows that we are having. So by using this, we can actually print this first row and last row just like that the stars are present. If we are not getting this particular statement, if this condition fails, at that time we will come to this else block. In the else block, what we are doing is that we are printing this particular star one time, and after printing this particular star I am concatenating these spaces, concatenating with spaces because in these rows we are having spaces in between of these stars. To get these spaces I am mentioning a space here and I am multiplying these spaces with inner spaces. That is what we have defined early in the program. So after that what I will be doing is that I am concatenating this with another star because at the end we are having one star here. Previously before starting of this pattern we have one star and at the end we have another star. So that is what I am printing here. After completion of this print statement, what I will be doing is that I will increment, not sorry, increment, not incrementing, I will decrement this particular inner spaces with 1 because on each iteration we are decrementing these inner spaces. You can see here in the second row we have 2 spaces, in the third row we have 1 space, in the fourth row we have 0 spaces. Like that, these inner spaces are decrementing on each row. So if I execute this, I can able to get the result of what we have expected. So the both patterns are same by using this logic. So I hope you have understood this particular logic. If not, let me explain one more time for you. So here I am taking these rows to keep track how many number of rows we are having. After that I am taking the inner spaces because in the pattern we have these inner spaces To keep track of these inner spaces, I am taking this inner spaces variable. After that, by using this for loop and range, we are generating a range of values from how many number of rows that we are having to till 1, so up to this one single star. So after that, what we will be doing is that we have mentioned a conditional statement I is equal to 1 or I equal to how many number of rows that we are having. By mentioning this, we are talking about this particular first row and last row. When we are encountered this first row and last row, we will simply printing these particular stars, how many number of rows that we are iterating. If this condition is true, we are not going with first row, we are not going with the last row. At that time, we will be traveling through this particular else block. In this else block, what I have mentioned is that I have initially mentioned this star because in this pattern we have initially started with stars, and after that we have these spaces which are of these spaces. I am mentioning these spaces. I am multiplying this single space with inner spaces. That is what we are keeping tracking of these inner spaces. And at the end, I am printing this particular single star. So after completion of this print statement, we are decrementing this particular inner spaces to reduce these inner spaces on each iteration. So now what we will be doing is that we will take the input from the user dynamically. Based on the user input, we will print this particular pattern. So for that reason, I am taking int input. I am asking enter any number. By mentioning this input, we are taking input. By mentioning this input, we are taking the input in terms of integer. So if I execute this, it was asking me to enter any number. If I give 5, I can able to get the same result that what we expected. If I give the number maybe 9, I can able to get the similar pattern with the 9 number. So if I give, let me give 13 number. If I give the number 13, I can able to see this particular pattern. Like this, we can generate this particular pattern with any number given by the user. So I hope you can able to understand this logic to print this particular pattern. In the next video, we will be seeing how we can print this particular pattern using for loop, string concatenation, and also using string multiplication. If you can write the solution for this pattern, write your solution in the comment section. Anyway, we will discuss this pattern in our next video. To stay updated, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications to all so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. And if you found this video interesting, hit the like button. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.